You know what's interesting about that, Bob, is that the Seahawks had the 2 prior games to that. They had dedicated their resources to stopping the big play. And all week I talked about that and the fact that, okay, they did. Mission accomplished. They only gave up a 23-yard scramble by Tannehill. That was the longest play against Tennessee, and then a 20-yarder from Jalen Hurts in the Philadelphia game. Everything else was below that, so mission accomplished there. But what I thought was, look, it's Mike Tomlin. He's on the road. They get a chance to play in the playoffs. They've got a backup quarterback, and they got 2 running backs that have combined for more yardage than our entire offense has accumulated this year. So I was like, I think we're going to load up to stop the run. And it's not so much that I didn't see that, but it was like the dedication to that was just not there. It's one thing to put enough guys in the box, but then you've got to get off blocks. You've got to tackle. You have to hustle. So that was the weird part to me. That, and you know, looking at some of the, there was a couple of times where they were a little bit too worried about that. That was 2 plays though. I mean, that was just 2 plays in the Cincinnati game. You know, so for the quarterback, he had thrown for 300 yards. Half of the yards were on 2 plays to Pickett or Pickens, whichever one.
Pickett.
You tell me. Pickett, yeah, Pickett and Pickens. So Pickett, you know, he had an 86-yarder and a 66-yarder, and those from Mason Rudolph were just like an 8-yard slant.
Oh, I thought you had probably his Pickens. I thought you were talking games ago.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett. Sorry.
Well, you know, I screwed it up anyway. So, but I knew I was going to screw that up during the game, and actually I didn't. It took till
receiver
Monday
Pickens, quarterback Pickett. He wasn't playing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so I don't know. They thought that, like going in, they thought that was going to be the thing to stop. I thought Mason Rudolph did a really good job, but I feel like, you know, that was to me, all week, that was my best guess on what the game plan was going to be. They're going to load up and stop the run, and they're going to say,
put it all on the backup.
Let's see if a backup quarterback can come in here and beat us.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. And you know, and I don't know if that's entirely what happened, and they didn't dedicate enough resources up into the box, whatever. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the tackling, obviously, but then just the yogging. You know, there was no hustle, there was no hit, there was nobody on the sidelines, and maybe they did miss Jordan Brooks. I mean, I thought Devin Bush he played fine, but you know, he had a ton of tackles. But like I said, you know, there were lots of tackles to be had.
Yeah,
you know, I remember
lots of opportunity, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was my quote after I got in USA Today when we played the Niners. They put up 650 yards on us, and I had 20 tackles, and everybody, oh man, congratulations. I'm like, no, it's a bad thing.
That's bad.
It's a bad thing. So, man, it was just that part of it, I guess, them not responding. And look, I think Pete, he takes the brunt of it, and then hopefully he goes and, you know, passes it on to the players. But I feel like Pete is, like, he does a good job. He's a good coach. He gives these guys lots of stuff, you know. It's like, it's a great place to be and everything. And I feel like he's not getting rewarded. And that bothers me.
Well, that represents the biggest problem. And I asked this question of you specifically in the notes, like, all right, who gets the biggest slice of blame pie here as for what we saw with the defense? Is it Pete? Is it Clint? Is it the players? Because they're all culpable. They're all complicit, Dave.
Yeah.
But to me, it's Pete, because the buck stops with the head coach. You're the guy that hired the coordinator. You have a say in the personnel that's on this team. And if the coordinator's not doing his job, or the players aren't listening to the coordinator, or they're not listening to you, you're the one that had a hand in picking those players. You had a hand in picking that coordinator. If that coordinator is not effective, ultimately that falls on you. Yeah, he's the one who's directly responsible for the defense, but you're the guy that put those pieces in play. So, you know, the idea of, well, he's not being rewarded, or they're not listening, or I don't know what he could say. You talked about, you know, I hope he's lighting them up behind closed doors, and I'm with you. I hope that's happening. But to what end? We're at game 17 now.
Yeah. And so to me, I guess I'm like, it's Pete if he's not threatening guys to fire their asses. I mean, I'll get somebody, John Radigan. I'll get backups, whatever.
Put in Ballore.
Get them in there, you know. And so to me, but the older that I get, the more I'm like, it's on the players, you know. these guys make a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, you got to hustle, man. At least hustle. And that's the part that really sort of lit my fire. And, you know, so yeah, I guess I would say it's on Pete if he is not, you know, threatening to bench guys like, you know, like I always talk about Chuck Knox telling me, you know, you play the way you've been playing, you're going to be sitting on the bench. You're going to be standing right next to me. So I don't know. If that's not getting done, then yeah, I guess I would blame Pete. But to me,
sorry, but it's been all year. It's been all year. This isn't like, where did this come from? Well, this non-tackling. This, I mean,
well, they've had some bad tackling games. I haven't seen anything like this. I mean, look, it's been bad. Obviously, you can look at the numbers, but you know, as far as they just looked like they didn't really care. That's the part that bothers me. If you don't see guys just flying around, so. Yeah, to me it goes players, then Pete, then Clint, I guess. But I mean, you know, ultimately the buck stops with Pete, and if he can't get those guys going, and you know, what do they say? That's the definition of insanity, right? Expecting different results by doing the same thing over and over and over again if it's failing. And you know, I guess you know you could make that case, but to me, it's on the players, and these guys are better than that, man. Like, you know, Big Cat and Jaron Reed, those guys are, you know, going into that game, I'm like, these guys, they got more sacks from their interior defensive linemen than I remember in a long time. I mean, you look at Jay Reed, I think there's 2 guys that are inside rushers that have more sacks than him. He's got 7. He's been playing tough inside. Big Cat plays tough inside. But I feel like from both of those guys, I saw, you know, great explosion at the line of scrimmage and initially, yeah, looked good, but then all of a sudden, then it was just head comes up, stand up straight, start jogging around, chasing the ball carrier. So, yeah, I mean, that part was, to me, I think for fans too, if you see that, and look, we all know that they're incredibly talented and they make a lot of money, but I think that's where the fans kind of get sideways. Like, that guy can't even hustle on his job. I mean, I hustle every day on mine, so that. Yeah, that one, that was tough to watch for me.